Donald Trump's trade policy rests on a simple, seductive idea. Protect American jobs by shielding domestic industries from foreign competition. Through tariffs, essentially taxes on imported goods, he aims to make foreign products more expensive, thereby boosting demand for American-made alternatives. This protectionist approach, however, ignores the complexities of the global economy and the inevitable consequences for American consumers, businesses, and the nation's economic health. Trump's tariffs, enacted in a flurry of executive actions, target a range of goods from steel and aluminum to solar panels and washing machines. The administration argues that these tariffs are necessary to protect national security, counter unfair trade practices, and reduce the trade deficit. However, the economic realities paint a far different picture. Instead of revitalizing American manufacturing, these tariffs have ignited a chain reaction of negative consequences, rippling through the economy and hurting the very people they were intended to help. From soaring prices on everyday goods to job losses in sectors reliant on imports, the economic pain inflicted by these tariffs is undeniable. Moreover, the tariffs have invited retaliation from key trading partners like China, Canada, and the European Union, further disrupting global supply chains and escalating trade tensions. The administration's protectionist dream, far from restoring American greatness, risks undermining the nation's economic standing and global influence. The most immediate and tangible impact of Trump's tariffs is felt by American consumers, who are now forced to pay more for a wide range of goods. The tariffs, passed on as higher prices by importers and retailers, act as a regressive tax, hitting low- and middle-income households hardest. Essentials like clothing, footwear, electronics, and appliances have all seen price hikes, squeezing household budgets and diminishing purchasing power. The iconic iPhone, a symbol of American technological prowess but assembled abroad, exemplifies the absurdity of these tariffs. The price of an iPhone 16 Pro Max, already a significant purchase for many, could skyrocket from $1,599 to a staggering $2,300 due to tariffs on components and assembly. This price surge extends beyond consumer electronics to encompass a vast array of durable and non-durable goods that constitute roughly 30% of household spending. With two-thirds of companies indicating their intent to pass on increased costs to consumers, the erosion of purchasing power is a foregone conclusion. The administration's claims that these price increases are minimal and a small price to pay for protecting American jobs ring hollow for families struggling to make ends meet. The reality is that these tariffs amount to a stealth tax hike, disproportionately burdening those least able to afford it. Beyond the immediate price shocks, Trump's tariffs have ignited an inflationary firestorm that threatens to engulf the broader economy. Since January 2021, U.S. prices have surged by approximately 20%, fueled in part by the rising cost of imported goods. This surge in inflation erodes the value of savings, diminishes real wages, and disrupts economic planning for businesses and consumers alike. The Federal Reserve, tasked with maintaining price stability, has responded to this tariff-driven inflation by raising interest rates. While intended to cool down the economy and curb inflation, these interest rate hikes come with their own set of consequences. Higher interest rates make borrowing more expensive for businesses and consumers, potentially slowing economic growth and exacerbating financial strain on households already grappling with higher prices. The inflationary spiral unleashed by these tariffs poses a significant threat to the economy, particularly for vulnerable populations and those on fixed incomes. As prices continue to rise and the purchasing power of the dollar diminishes, the risk of stagflation, a toxic mix of stagnant economic growth and high inflation, looms large. The myth of reshoring, broken chains, and unrealistic expectations. A central tenet of the administration's trade policy is the idea of reshoring, bringing manufacturing jobs back to the United States by making it more expensive to produce goods overseas. However, this simplistic notion ignores the complexity of global supply chains and the decades-long shift towards specialization and efficiency in manufacturing. American companies over many years have meticulously built intricate global supply chains, sourcing components and labor from around the world to optimize production and minimize costs. Trump's tariffs, by disrupting these carefully calibrated networks, have thrown American manufacturing into disarray. Companies are now faced with the daunting task of either absorbing higher costs, passing them on to consumers, or attempting to rebuild their supply chains domestically, a costly and time-consuming endeavor. The reality is that reshoring on a scale that would significantly impact the US economy is a pipe dream. It would require massive investments in infrastructure, workforce training, and research and development, as well as overcoming the challenges of finding skilled labor in a tight labor market. Moreover, the global nature of production means that even if some manufacturing jobs were to return, they would likely be different, more automated, and fewer in number than those lost in previous decades. The administration's promise of a manufacturing renaissance fueled by tariffs is, therefore, based on a fundamental misunderstanding of the global economy and the realities of modern manufacturing. The tariffs have not only disrupted American manufacturing, but have also sparked a backlash from trading partners. Countries affected by the tariffs have retaliated with their own tariffs on American goods, which has hurt US exporters and led to a trade war. This tit-for-tat escalation has created uncertainty for businesses and consumers alike. Moreover, the economic pain caused by the tariffs has political implications. Farmers, manufacturers, and consumers who are bearing the brunt of the tariffs may express their dissatisfaction at the ballot box, potentially jeopardizing the administration's electoral prospects. The tariffs have also triggered a race to the bottom in terms of labor and environmental standards. To avoid tariffs, some companies have shifted production to countries with lower wages and weaker regulations, exacerbating global inequalities and undermining efforts to promote fair labor practices and environmental sustainability. This shift does little to bring jobs back to the United States and instead perpetuates a cycle of exploitation and environmental degradation. In the end, Trump's tariffs are unlikely to achieve their intended goals. The global economy is too interconnected, and the forces of supply and demand too powerful to be easily controlled by tariffs. The disruptions caused by the tariffs have highlighted the vulnerabilities of American manufacturing and the challenges of reshoring in a globalized world. Rather than reviving American manufacturing, the tariffs have exposed the need for a more nuanced and strategic approach to trade policy. One that recognizes the realities of the modern global economy and seeks to build resilience and competitiveness through innovation and collaboration.